Hello, everybody. Aaron the Nintintrovert here, and welcome to another episode of the Pictochat podcast. So today we're going to be talking about the Mario Kart World Direct, which is only like a few days away at the time of recording this. And the game itself will be out in like less than 2 months. I believe June the 5th is when the Nintendo Switch 2 and Mario Kart World are scheduled to come out. So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, if I'm being completely honest, I'm still very cautiously optimistic about this game. There's still a lot I'm waiting to see, and Nintendo's promise that at this direct it's gonna quell everybody's concerns about the $80 price tag and everything, about how this is like the biggest and most ambitious Mario Kart game to date. So that remains to be seen. I hope that's true, but I don't know. I'm expecting a lot, and I'm not confident that my expectations are going to be met. But let's just get right into it. So, there's a lot of things that we're going to be talking about, things I'd like to see, from the battle mode, to just a number of different features, good online performance, as well as, some people have talked about, like, there being like a mission mode or like a, full story mode, like a campaign, which I think looks pretty likely. And all those things are great, but at the end of the day, at the heart of Mario Kart, it really comes down to two things, and that's the racetracks themselves and also the multiplayer. So that's what I really want to hone in on, and that's something that I'm still kind of concerned about. Because from what we've seen, people have like analyzed the entirety of the world map that we saw from the Switch 2 Nintendo Direct, and then from like the hands-on footage with like the Nintendo Treehouse live showing some gameplay over the course of a couple days, and then people who have gone hands-on with the demo. So people have kind of mapped out the map, and found about 30 tracks in total. And if that ends up being the final total of tracks in the game, around 30, that's going to be very disappointing to me, especially for an $80 price tag. So if you look at, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which was a $60 game that came with 48 tracks, and then the Booster Course Pass cost an additional $20, and that doubled the game's content with 48 brand new tracks for a resounding total of 96. So, that's the exact same price. So that's going to be a pretty hard sell. $80 for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe plus the Booster Course Pass on Switch, which gets you 96 racetracks, versus paying $80 to get this new open world Mario Kart, but there's only like 30 tracks. So I'm hoping that we haven't seen all of the tracks. So I don't know. I feel like there's got to be more to that, right? Because that's great if this game really is going to have like this single player focused mode where we can do all these little challenges in the overworld to unlock new costumes and characters and all that. That's great. But there's got to be more than just 30 tracks, because I'm sorry, if this is going to be a game that's going to last an entire console generation, that we're going to be playing for the duration of the Switch 2's lifetime, which, if the Switch 1's anything to go by, you're talking like 8 years. They've got to have a substantial amount of content here, and that content needs to primarily come in the form of the racetracks. I don't want this to be a Mario Party Jamboree situation where it's like, yeah, there's a whole lot of content, but it's split in all these different modes, when like the core racing is the main thing. That needs to be the most fleshed out mode with the most content. So yeah, I would love, what I'm hoping, and maybe some might say this is too ambitious, but for $80, I think it's fair to have pretty lofty expectations. But I'm hoping that there's not just the one world map. It's called Mario Kart World, which kind of implies that it's a globe-trotting adventure where you're going, all around the world. So maybe what we've seen is just like one of multiple like islands or continents. Maybe you can kind of leave the mainland and sail across the ocean, because we've already seen that your car is equipped with like jet skis basically, and you can just ride in the ocean, and there's even like these vehicles you can get into to go faster through the ocean. So maybe like if you just keep sailing around, almost kind of like Wind Waker or something, you can just kind of stumble upon even more land masses with more tracks to race on. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. Because the Switch is coming out, the Switch 2, I mean, and they're not launching with like a brand new like big mainline 3D Mario. We're getting this instead. Everybody was kind of expecting that we were going to get like an open world 3D Mario. Instead, we're getting an open world Mario Kart. But what if this game kind of borrows a page out of the mainline Mario games, where you have multiple worlds? So like this is World One, and then once you go around and you get all of the rainbow fragments or whatever to unlock Rainbow Road for that world, you beat it, and then you unlock another world, and you've got to find the fragments to unlock that world's Rainbow Road, and so on and so on. That could be pretty awesome. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. But if you look at it, they've shown a pretty good lot of retro tracks already. Like we know of, just off the top of my head, there's Wario Shipyard, there's Wario Stadium, there's Shy Guy Bazaar, there's Airship Fortress. They're bringing back some very good retro tracks. Shy Guy Bazaar and Airship Fortress in particular are two of my favorites. I'm really glad about Wario Shipyard too. I think it looks awesome. But then you've also got oh gosh, I'm blanking. Toad's Factory. That was a highly requested one that people wanted to see back. And probably several more that I'm forgetting, I'm sure. Decay Pass. So of the 30, you're looking at probably like half of them being like brand new original tracks. But then at least half, maybe even more than that, are retro. So that's really not a ton in the ways of new content. So again, that's where I'm thinking like there's got to be more. So I'm hoping that, so when the Booster Course Pass came out and they went through and they did all 6 waves of DLC, and then they said that was it, they're not going to do any, like they're not going to do a 7th wave or anything, we're cutting it off here, 96 tracks. That really made me think, because at first it was like, well, that seems kind of odd, why would you not at least do one more cup and have an even 100? That would be a nice number to end things on. But I thought, like, well, maybe that's going to be part of the draw for the next new Mario Kart game. They're going to market this as the biggest Mario Kart ever with over 100 racetracks. So that's why that they're cutting this one just shy of that. So that's still something that I'm hoping to see. I don't know if we will, but like, imagine if there's like at least 2 more islands just as big as the first map that we've seen that have 30 more tracks. So that would be like 90 right there, and then maybe a few other things sprinkled throughout. I mean, if you wanted to get crazy, we could have like 5 or 6 or 7 islands. But make it like a standard Mario game. Like a lot of Mario games have like 8 worlds. What if we had like 8 different land masses that we could explore one at a time? That would be awesome. Again, that might be a little too lofty. That might be a little selfish of me to ask for that much, but at the same time, though, that's pretty selfish of Nintendo to ask for $80. So, is it unfounded? Is it not? I really don't know, because, like, I mean, think about it. This is the launch title for the Switch 2. This is this console's equivalent of Breath of the Wild, you know? So, and it's going to cost $20 more. So that's Nintendo saying, we believe that this game is worth $20 more, like an extra 33% of Breath of the Wild. And that was a very massive open world that looked way bigger than Mario Kart World's map, because it looks like you could drive from one end of the map to the other pretty quickly. I mean, you see them doing like in the Nintendo Treehouse, like going through these cups where they're racing from one end to the other. So it seems pretty quick that you can get all the way across this world. So that really concerns me, even from a single player perspective. Like, not only does it feel like, well, that's really not enough tracks, but it's also like, I feel like I'm going to be able to find all the secrets on this world map pretty quickly, unless there's several other world maps. So that's really what I'm hoping for, because I remember when Breath of the Wild, when Nintendo first fully unveiled that game at E3 2016, they had shown some footage of it before that, but once we actually got the full big overview trailer with like the name drop and the music, the da 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 da, and then people got to go hands on with it, and you could have they showed off the climbing mechanics and gathering materials and everything, and at the time I remember people were exploring the Great Plateau, and it felt like this big, huge, massive thing. And Nintendo's representative said, like, yeah, this is only like 1 or 2% of the entire map. And at the time, people had a hard time believing it. Like, they couldn't wrap their heads around it. Like, you kidding me? There's no way that the game is this huge. But it was. So I'm hoping we might be in a similar situation with Mario Kart World. I'm not necessarily expecting that what we've seen is only like 2%, but maybe like, maybe 10 or 20%. I don't know. But like, I can't imagine that Nintendo has already shown us all of the tracks that are going to be in the game. Like, I feel like there's got to be secrets, but again, that just kind of remains to be seen. But yeah, I'll be really disappointed if it's just like 30 tracks or like 32, which kind of was the standard until Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Even Mario Kart 8, when it first launched, it had 32 tracks. But that's something I was kind of always saying back during the Switch era was whatever's next for Mario Kart, I hope it's not like a hard reset and we go back to just having 32 tracks again, because it's going to be really hard to go back to that after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, especially with the Booster Course Pass, just became so massive with all this content. That's going to be a really tough pill to swallow, and especially for the price they're asking for it. So, Nintendo still has to do more to really wow me. I need to see more content. I'm happy if we're finally getting a Mario Kart game that has substantial single-player content, which it looks like we're getting. But the multiplayer needs to be there too. And again, from a single-player perspective, I feel like the map isn't big enough that, I feel like I'll see everything that it has to offer relatively quickly. I could be wrong about that, but again, it seems like you can go from one end of the map to the other pretty quickly. So even if there are all kinds of secrets, like we've seen, there's like P switches that do something, and there's I'm not sure, there's like some characters you can see on the map, so I don't know if that's like NPCs that have different missions for you. But even then, I'm still just concerned about the amount of content there. If the game really does launch with only like 30-ish tracks, then I really hope that Nintendo is going to do consistent free content updates, because that's gonna really PO some people, myself included. If on top of this being an $80 game, they also announce, yeah, we're gonna add a bunch of extra content, you can get this $20 season pass for the new tracks we'll add over the course of the next year. That's like, now all of a sudden Mario Kart World is going to cost me $100+ for the full experience, maybe more if they continue doing more season passes like year after year. So ideally, I hope it launches with more than 30-ish tracks, but if it does, they better announce that we're going to be getting free updates for a long time to come at $80. So yeah, but what we have seen looks great. The tracks that have been remade all look super, super good. Some of them I'm a little bit iffy on the changes, like Choco Mountain, looks a lot more industrial and not so much. I saw one comment say something like, where's the chocolate and where's the mountains? And then Dino Jungle, they kind of remade that one. Now it's like Dino Laboratory or something, and it's kind of more industrialized. That seems to be a running theme for a lot of these tracks. But yeah, as far as the ones that they're bringing back, a lot of them, not only are there a lot of retro tracks here, but a lot of them come straight from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. There was Sky High Sunday, that was from 8 Deluxe. There was Choco Mountain, that was in 8 Deluxe with the Booster Course Pass. There was, oh gosh, I'm blanking. I probably should have wrote all these down. But a lot of these tracks you can already play on Mario Kart 8, which again, the Switch 2 is backwards compatible. So you already have access to those on your Switch 2 right out the box. Of course, they look better in most cases on the Mario Kart 8, in Mario Kart World. But still, again, that just takes away more incentive there. So if there's only 30 tracks, it's like, well, only maybe 20 some of them are ones that I can't already play on my Switch 2 in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So again, I'm really hoping there's got to be more content there. But what we have seen looks great. And there is also, you could argue that there's kind of double that amount of tracks. because there's all these like routes, like between tracks that you race to. That's kind of like how Mario Kart 7 and 8 had some tracks like Mario Kart 7's Rainbow Road, for example, or like Woohoo Island or Mako Woohoo, or Mount Wario in Mario Kart 8, where it's like one giant lap that's divided into segments. There's like 3 segments. That seems to be how like the in between roads are handled. Though in a lot of cases, it seems like they might be more like, I don't know, 6 or 8 segments making up one track, where you're just going from point A to point B. Going from one racetrack to the next one. So that kind of doubles the amount of tracks. So if you factor that in, you're looking at around 60. But I don't know if those in between segments really look as interesting or as memorable as like the actual core like main racetracks. So I kind of hesitate to lump those into the equation and say like, oh well, what about all these other tracks that technically don't count as tracks? I'm just kind of like, I don't know. But So yeah, I definitely want to see more in the way of racetracks. I've heard some people speculate like, well, maybe there's like a whole like sky section they haven't shown off with a bunch of like cloud levels, and also like an underground section maybe that's hidden on the map somewhere with some underground tracks, which would be very funny if that's true, because that's exactly what ended up being the whole thing about Tears of the Kingdom. That's the thing too. Why I feel like it's not unreasonable to expect that there could be multiple world maps here beyond the one that we've seen, because Tears of the Kingdom, took that original map from Breath of the Wild, which was massive, and then doubled it with the underground section, and then really probably tripled it, because you had like the Sky Islands, which I wouldn't say added that much. Like if you stuck them all together, that was maybe, you know, one of the regions, so maybe like a seventh of the game or something. But then you also had all the caves they added on the surface, so they effectively probably did like triple the overall real estate there. And that was $70. That was $10 more than Breath of the Wild. So if they're saying this game is worth even more than Tears of the Kingdom, I'm expecting a huge, a huge freaking world map. Okay, pardon my French, but I would love to see, maybe not at launch, but by the time they're all said and done with like whatever DLC updates this game could get, I would love for this to more or less just have like every Mario Kart track in the series history. People have noted on the map that it looks like you can see, I think, Mario Circuit 1, 2, and 3 from the original Super Nintendo game. And also it looks like Ghost Valley 1, 2, and 3, I think, all just kind of like right next to each other on the world map. And also some battle maps, I think, or at least one. I think people have seen like the Big Donut or whatever it's called from Mario Kart 64, which is kind of like a Bowser's Castle themed battle map, which is kind of like up in the top left portion of the map here, which is like all Bowsery lava themed levels. So yeah. And I do hope we will get more into that. I do hope that there's a lot more, battle tracks here. But yeah, I need to see more. I want to see more maps, because like people have also tossed around the idea that there could be a battle royale mode in this game, and I think that could be a lot of fun. They could take a page from Fortnite, where you have like 100 people playing at the same time, and you start on like opposite ends of the map, and you've got something kind of similar to Fortnite Storm or something that's forcing all players into the middle, and it's kind of a last man standing sort of thing, a battle royale where you're they could do it where it's just like the standard balloon mode where you're popping each other's balloons, and last player left with balloons wins. I do still want a traditional battle mode, and I think that's going to be there because again, people have seen the Big Donut battle map on the board. But even then, if you have this battle royale that's spread across this entire giant world map that gradually shrinks down, that's going to get very repetitive after a while if there really is only the one world map. Because you look at Fortnite and they change the map constantly. They have all these different, seasons and stuff where they introduce new elements. So, again, that's where I'm hoping the game's either going to be a live service thing where they update all this stuff for free over time, or just right out the gate, you got multiple world maps, because that would really kind of circumvent that problem. If you've got like 6 different maps or something to choose from to do this battle royale type mode in, then that's going to really help, I think, to keep things fresh. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I really hope there's more. I really hope that you will be able to fly or sail across to different islands. Imagine if like you're going from continent to continent, but then in the middle you just see Woohoo Island out in the middle of the ocean, and that's where both of the those tracks, the Woohoo Loop and Maka Woohoo from Mario Kart 7 on the 3DS are there, and also that's where you find the Woohoo. I forget the name of it, but the battle map. That would be awesome. You're just sailing around, and it's like, hey, what's that off in the distance? And it's like, oh my god, it's Woohoo Island. Because Nintendo, I think, has to know the demand of how much people have been wanting that track to come back. Just like, Toad's Factory, which is here, and Airship Fortress, which is here. We've not seen Luigi's Mansion yet. That's probably next on the list in my mind of like most important tracks. That's like super memorable that we've not seen yet that weren't already in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Although I hope a lot of those tracks come back too, though. Like it was so awesome to see Coconut Mall and Maple Tree Way added to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe after so many years of waiting. So again, I would just love for all these tracks to just be there in this new game, like on the world map somewhere. Imagine if you can actually like just because if this game's going to be open world and you've got all these missions, you can freely roam around and explore at your leisure. You can just drive up to Coconut Mall and like the parking lot. And you can go inside and go to all these different floors. Maybe there's like even like more escalators to take you to like a third and fourth and fifth level stuff that like you never saw on the standard racetrack. But when you're just freely roaming around, you can explore all these different floors and stuff. That could be a lot of fun. Like I mentioned with Woohoo Island, like you would be able to, because in Wii Sports Resort, and then also in oh gosh, what was the Pilot Wings Resort on the 3DS, you could kind of freely fly around and find all of these like waypoints, like these landmarks, and try to like fill out your collection of them. So it would be a lot of fun actually just being like on the surface of the island, just driving around. Because in those games, you're really just you're flying over it. You don't really get a chance to explore it on foot, and you're not really here either in a cart, but that's a lot closer to being on foot, actually, driving up the various turns and the hills and stuff. So I think that could be a lot of fun doing various objectives like that. But yeah, we've also not seen yet any representation of other Nintendo franchises. It's only just been Mario. So in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you had you could play as Link from The Legend of Zelda, and then you also had Hyrule Circuit was a track, and then you had two F-Zero tracks being Mute City and Big Blue. And then you had a Splatoon battle map. You could play as the Inklings from Splatoon. You had an Animal Crossing track, and you could play as the Villager as well as Isabelle. So far, we've not seen any signs of that. I hope that there will be some of that in the game. I'm not one of those people that was like, oh, I really hope the next Mario Kart is Smash Kart. Excuse me. I was never really in that boat. I think Mario Kart always needs to be primarily about Mario. I don't want to see it lose its identity and becoming this like hodgepodge of everything. But with that said, I do think that a handful of, other Nintendo characters is kind of fun. So I would be a little disappointed if like we don't have those other characters in here, like Link and so forth, and maybe some extra ones like Fox McCloud in the racing in the R-Wing would be a lot of fun. Samus, with Metroid Prime 4 about to come out. I mean, that would be great marketing because presumably the new Mario Kart's probably going to be the best-selling Switch 2 game. It was the best-selling Switch 1 game. So, if they put Samus in there with her ship as a cart, that would really put a lot of new eyes on Metroid. And then, of course, Captain Falcon with the Blue Falcon, etc., etc. I would have said Kirby with the Warp Star. I would still love to see that, but since we know that Kirby Air Ride is a game that's going to be coming out this year, that makes me like, I don't know that they would put Kirby in this game, but we'll see. We've also not seen a decent amount of Mario characters yet. We've seen a lot. I think there's roughly like 50 characters they've already announced so far, not including all the different skins. We've got some, new characters joining the roster, like the Pianta from Super Mario Sunshine. A lot of random enemies, just like the Goombas, and even though they don't have hands, so it's like how do they drive? And then like the spiny, just a lot of really weird random Mario enemies, which I'm not too keen on. That I'm not like upset that they're there necessarily, but like there's some other characters that I will be kind of disappointed if they don't get in favor of like the freaking dolphin or whatever, or the cow from Moo Moo Meadows. That's another track that's returning. That's also in Mario Kart 8, Moo Moo Meadows. I really like that one, but again, that's already in the other one, so that's not really a big incentive to buy this brand new Mario Kart game. So again, just really hope there's a lot more tracks than what we've seen. But but yeah, I think as far as characters that I would really like to see, the mobile game Mario Kart Tour had King Bob-omb. He's never been in Mario Kart before, so I'd love to see him. And I feel like they probably will introduce all of those characters that were in Tour, because we've already seen a handful of them. Like I think Hammer Brothers and Monty Mole and Chargin' Chuck. I believe they were all originally from Mario Kart Tour. So yeah, I feel like we'll probably see King Bob-omb here. He was already in Mario Golf Super Rush a few years ago. That was kind of his first playable debut, I think. So it'd be great to see him. It would be great to see. We've not seen Diddy Kong yet, but on top of Diddy Kong, or Funky Kong, we've not seen him after just getting him back in the Booster Course Pass. So it would be really disappointing if he doesn't come back. But Dixie Kong, she was also in the mobile game. So throw her in there. Heck, throw in Cranky Kong and King K. Rool. That'd be sick. I'm not necessarily expecting that. Maybe Cranky, because he is going to be in that new Donkey Kong game we've seen. But for whatever reason, Nintendo has this weird aversion to the Kremling, so I don't know if we'll get K. Rool. But beyond that, other characters that I would like to see. We've not seen the Koopalings yet. I know a lot of people were kind of sick of Nintendo putting the Koopalings in everything, and they felt like that they took up too much of the roster in Mario Kart 8. But I would be really upset to see them go. Because, that's like 7 whole characters taking up a slot on the roster, but we've already seen 50. So, if they cut out my boy Ludwig von Koopa, or, Larry or Roy, in favor of friggin', again, the Moo Moo Meadows cow or the dolphin, I'm going to be a little upset. So I'm hoping they're there. I think they probably will be, because I was watching some footage of somebody racing on the Chaco Mountain track, and it looks like there's like signage, like there's a billboard advertising Larry's something another. Larry is, one of the Koopalings. So that tells me that the Koopalings will probably be here. At least I'm really hoping that's the case. Then as far as the costumes, we've seen some pretty cool ones. A lot of them I don't know if I'm necessarily going to be using, but I really like costumes that are based on other games that are kind of like a reference or a callback to this spin-off game or something, so I would really love to see stuff like Dr. Mario, for example. That would get me really excited. Or Wario in his biker outfit from like the WarioWare games, where he's got kind of his denim vest, and then he's got like the fingerless gloves and stuff, and the pink I guess it's kind of like spandex bicycle shorts or something, and he's got his motorcycle helmet on. I would love to see that. So just more costumes like that are themed around specific games. That really interests me more so than like, oh, here's I don't know, Bowser with like a backwards hat and he's got some glasses. Those costumes is just kind of whatever. There are some fun ones here though, like Wario, where he's got like a turban on his head with like a feather. He's like a sultan or something, and then you've got like Waluigi in like a poncho and a sombrero. That's kind of fun. So there are some fun ones in there. There's like King Boo, and he's got like a monocle and like a a mustache, like all fancy looking with like a top hat. Although King Boo, I really hope he gets an alt that's like his Luigi's Mansion design, where he's more menacing looking. He's got like the purple tongue. He's got like the glowing like blue eyes or whatever that's like dark around him, and he's got like the red gemstone crown instead of the more conventional like golden crown that's got like the three prongs in it. So those are the kind of costumes that I want to see. Uh, Hope we get a lot of returning car parts from previous games. I think Mario Kart Tour, and I want to say Mario Kart DS had something similar where there's like a cart for Donkey Kong that looks like Rambi, the Rhino. So that would be really cool to see. I hope we get a lot of returning carts from past games. I really just want this to be an amalgamation of just like everything Mario has been up to this point, Mario Kart rather, just bringing in all the content across like all the different games. And that might again sound a little too ambitious, but by God, $80 is pretty freaking ambitious of Nintendo to ask for. So we'll see what ultimately ends up happening. But I do really like what I've seen of the game so far. I'm just concerned that there's not going to be enough there especially to warrant the $80 price tag. There needs to be enough content here that playing this game alone is going to hold me over for like the month until Donkey Kong Bonanza releases. But even then, I would hope that there'll still be a lot more that I want to go back and explore in this new Mario Kart. Because I've sunk like, gosh, between the Wii U and the Switch version, probably over 500 hours in Mario Kart 8. If I'm just taking a guess, that's a lot of time. So it's really going to be kind of an uphill battle for Nintendo, but I want this new Mario Kart to be even richer in content than that, to give me even more reason to keep coming back. So we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, what happens. But jumping ship a little bit, we've talked about the tracks. Let's actually talk about just some different returning tracks that I would like to see. I would love to see some different iterations of Bowser's Castle. We've kind of seen a glimpse of, like, I guess, the new Bowser's Castle for this game. But I would love to see them bring back the Nintendo 64 version. That's probably my favorite Bowser's Castle track. It's just really ominous. It's got this kind of creepy music where it's like this chorus of voices that's just kind of like chanting, and you're racing. It's like it's pitch black outside, and it's a very subtle Bowser's Castle track. Like, there's some spots where there's lava, but it's not like, oh, there's lava everywhere. There's this giant mechanical Bowser that's breathing fire, and like there's a wrecking ball and lasers and all this kind of crap. Like, it really scales back, but I think the simplicity really works in its favor. It's very ambient. It's very atmospheric. It feels a lot more sinister than a lot of the other Bowser's Castle tracks without trying to be like super in your face about all this crazy stuff it's got going on. So I really respect that track. So I'd love to see that return here. Also from the Nintendo 64 game, Banshee Boardwalk. That's another one that I really enjoy. Again, it's just really creepy, really atmospheric. It's like pitch black, so you can like hardly see anything other than the pier itself that's illuminated with with all these like street lamps. And I don't know how that track would work, or really the Bowser's Castle when I'm talking about in this game, where it's got dynamic lighting. So like if you can race Banshee Boardwalk during the daytime, that's going to be really off-putting. So I don't know, maybe when you're in like the ghost areas of the map, maybe it stays permanently dark over there. I don't know. Same with like Luigi's Mansion, that's going to look weird during the daytime. So we'll have to see how they handle that. But something else that I'm not sure how they're going to handle. They've essentially gotten rid of, it looks like, the underwater mechanic, being able to race underwater, which has kind of been a staple of Mario Kart 7 and 8. And so now you just kind of, your kart converts into having these jet skis, and you're kind of just like, riding the waves along the surface of the water. So they've completely reworked Wario Shipyard to accommodate for that, and some of the other tracks. But I'm not sure if that means that maybe we're just not going to see certain tracks come back, because there's some where it's like, I really don't know how you would rework this. Like Piranha Plant Cove was one of the last tracks they added as DLC to Mario Kart 8, and it was a really good track. But that track almost entirely takes place underwater, and I really don't think there's a way that you can rework that track to make it work on the surface. I think it really needs to be like deep down, because it's kind of got that, lost kingdom of Atlantis, like, this sunken city sort of vibe about it. And so if you move all that to the surface, it's just not, it's really going to lose a lot in translation. So, I would love to see if, maybe there are, again, maybe if there are multiple different maps on the world map, maybe your car transforms differently depending on the region. And so maybe in this one map, it turns into jet skis, but maybe on this other map, this one has all the underwater tracks. And so your car, instead of jet skis, it, turns into like a little submarine and you actually go under the water. But I'm not really expecting that. Though I would love to see that just for the sake of being able to preserve some of those other tracks that we've seen in the past. Not necessarily for new ones, because if Nintendo's kind of like done with like making original underwater tracks, that's fine with me. Racing underwater, I wouldn't say added that much to the gameplay, and typically I probably just prefer the feeling of just racing on land, um, where it's not as floaty and stuff. But it would kind of suck for them to not be able to preserve those tracks that did heavily feature underwater. So we'll see how they end up handling that. I guess they could rework it in a way, make it kind of how Koopa Cape was back on the Wii, where you're like in this glass enclosure, so you're under the water and you see the water around you, but you're not actually like, you know, diving under the water. You're just kind of in this glass inner tube that's keeping you, keeping you from being wet. So they could go that route, I guess. But yeah, they had a lot of tracks that were in Mario Kart Tour, the mobile game. They remade like all of the original tracks from that game in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, except for one. I forget the name of it. It was like Piranha Plant, Piranha Pipeway. I forget what it was called. You had like these two different ways you could go. There was like a branching path. You'd have this like gliding section, and then you could go either in like the left pipe or the right pipe, and then you had like fuzzies from Super Mario World that would kind of like circle around as like an obstacle you'd have to dodge. It looked pretty cool. But that was the only one they didn't bring back, so I feel like they've got to be saving it for this game, right? So is that going to be in there somewhere? I would imagine. And then I'm also kind of wondering about like the real world city tracks. I feel like a lot of people probably would not be too disappointed if those get left in the past and if they remain exclusive to the Switch version. But again, kind of for preservation's sake, it would be kind of neat to see just like all of the tracks throughout Mario Kart history carried over in the future, whether it's through like updates later on. I don't know how that would work with kind of like the seamless like open world. If you just have like a miniature truncated version of like all of the like real world continents, and so you're racing from like the New York track in North America, and then you're going to like the one in Spain, but it's all like they've just shrunk it down where it's these like tiny islands to accommodate for it being on the world map. I don't know how that would work. But yeah, I'm trying to think other tracks. I like that they're bringing back Desert Hill, I think, or Desert Hills is the name of it from Mario Kart DS. I believe that one was remade in the Wii as well. And I like that track. I think that's a pretty solid desert track. I would also really love to see Dry Ruins is a kind of a fun take. It's somewhat similar to Dry Desert, but they actually have a part where you're like racing inside of a pyramid, and each lap it fills with sand, and the music's great. I love the music on that track. So that would be cool. Then there's like Mushroom Bridge. That could even be reworked to being like one of the like in between segments, like when you're racing from one track to another one. I can kind of see that being the case. But I don't know. I'm worried a lot of those classic tracks are going to be cut from this one because a lot of the new tracks and also like the in-between segments we've seen look like they're incorporating a lot of ideas from those other tracks, like a lot of the themes, like the environmental details. So yeah, but I hope that there's more in terms of the battle maps. We already saw in Mario Kart Tour where they brought back at least a handful of them. I know they did an update at one point in Mario Kart Tour where they added in battle mode and they remade like I think it was called like Twilight House or something like that was the name of one of the maps from Mario Kart DS. And then they had one of the ones from Double Dash in there, which was like this I don't remember the name of it, but it had like cookies and like other desserts. It was like a dessert themed one. There's a lot of those in Mario Kart's battle modes. Um, and then I'm trying to think. I don't remember what other battle maps were put in that game, but I'd love to see all those brought over because we've already seen on the world map. Again, Big Donut is one. So yeah, incorporate a lot more of those. Oh, and another character when we were talking about characters, Kamek. I'll be so upset if Kamek or Kamek, as they pronounce it, like in the Nintendo Directs for whatever reason. I've never heard anyone say that. But after we finally got him after all these years, he was supposed to have been in Mario Kart 64 back in like 1997 or something like that. He was in the beta version of the game, but he ended up getting cut in favor of, I think, either Wario or Donkey Kong. I don't remember which one replaced him. I think Wario. So yeah, it wasn't until just like a couple of years ago with the Booster Course Pass that we finally got Kamek as a playable character in Mario Kart. So that would just be really upsetting if like he's absent because now he's like an item. I guess you can summon Kamek, and it like transforms players on the map like during a race into like a different character with different stats, and then also adds a bunch of like enemies on the track. But I mean, I feel like that doesn't have to, invalidate Kamek as still possibly being a playable character. Because we've seen, for example, you can race as Charging Chuck, but that doesn't change the fact that Charging Chuck can show up as an enemy on the world map. Same with Goombas and a lot of other characters. Same with Spike. So I'm hoping that that's the case where, yeah, it's an item, but he is also still a racer. That one doesn't have to invalidate the other. So we'll see. But yeah. What else do I want to talk about? We've kind of touched on the online a little bit in the sense of I feel like there's probably going to be a battle royale mode maybe that utilizes the entire world map, which would be really cool. It looks like you'll be able to play through probably the whole single player campaign or whatever there's going to be like online with friends, so that could be a lot of fun because you've seen that they can race together and just kind of the free roam mode. Hopefully we'll see like boss fights, kind of like the mission mode in Mario Kart DS. That would be pretty cool. Um, but um, but yeah, they could do. I know King Babam. He was a boss in that game. They could maybe bring him back, and maybe some of the other ones in that game, like the Goon boss, and maybe that's how you have to unlock them. Like once you defeat them, then now you can race as that character. That would be pretty cool. I'm trying to think what other interesting bosses they could do. They could do like the Gooper Blooper from Mario Sunshine or something. I know that thing also appeared as a boss in like a couple of the Mario Tennis games, I think. They could do like PD Piranha. I don't think we've seen PD Piranha yet as a playable character. So hopefully PD comes back, but that could be another boss potentially. Um, I don't know who would the final boss be though, because like Bowser's already like a racer that you have from the get go. So like, would it be some kind of like ultra dark super version of Bowser? Would it be like a mecha Bowser? Would it be? I don't know. Maybe some kind of original villain. I don't know. Nintendo's gotten a lot more liberal in recent years with the Mario IP, so maybe they would come up with some kind of new original villain. I don't know. Um, but uh, but yeah, one thing I'm not expecting this. I really highly doubt we'll see this, but I think would be awesome. I'd love to see it. If they have some kind of like track editor where you can like make your own racetracks. Although really, as I think about it, I mean the idea is not impossible. Nintendo's done that in a lot of racing games before, just never Mario Kart. But multiple Excite-Bike games, like the I think even the NES original, and then also the Excite-Bike on the Nintendo 64 had a track editor. Excuse me. I think a couple of F-Zero games did as well, like one of the Game Boy Advance ones, and then I think like it might have been like F-Zero X, but like the Japanese version exclusive to like the Nintendo 64 disc drive thing that never came out over here because it was financially like a big flop or whatever. And then Diddy Kong Racing DS, it had like a very rudimentary level editor that wasn't really all that great. Where you could kind of just like draw on the DS touchscreen, you could just draw a track layout and then race it. Not really a whole lot to say about it though, because you couldn't really like add any like hazards or anything, and it had the same generic like background. Um, but the one of the Labo kits, I don't remember if it was maybe the motorcycle kit. I think also let you like make your own track designs. Um, and really, I guess Mario Kart kind of has, if you think about Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, you could kind of like set up your own track and then have Mario kind of like race around it and to make one. So I guess that's not fully unprecedented territory for Mario Kart. So that would be really cool to see just like a full featured track editor that could kind of help if they don't bring back a bunch of returning, favorite tracks that people would love to see. Because then it's like, well, you could just build it yourself. If the tools are robust enough for you to actually be able to put in everything that you want to put in, then I have like to make different theme tracks. Like, well, this is a desert one, and this is a lava track, and this is a snow track. Maybe even combine elements. This is a snow track that has lava. That would be really cool. Especially considering I'm sure Nintendo knows, even though they're not a fan of people like modding their games, they have to know that like I think in particular like Mario Kart Wii and then some of the other Mario Kart games have like a very active modding scene where people like make their own custom tracks, whether it's like remaking retro tracks from other Mario Kart games or making their own original new tracks. So I think that could be really cool and be a big, community feature if Nintendo had something like that where you can like create your own tracks and share them online with people. Kind of like because Smash Brothers does it. So if Sakurai can do it, you can too, Nintendo. So that would be really cool to see, but we'll just have to wait and see. That's kind of, I think, one of the more out there ideas that I'm not super, super strongly thinking is going to be something that actually happens, but, I'd love to be proven wrong on that front. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else do I want to talk about. We've talked about characters I'd like to see. We've talked about some tracks that I would like to see come back. How I want there to just be more tracks in general, and a substantial single player campaign online that works. Which Mario Kart typically has pretty good online, but hopefully there's not like a whole bunch of bots or anything, especially with there now being 24 racers. You won't have a bunch of like half-empty lobbies that get filled up with computer characters. That would be really disappointing. Yeah, I think I talked about battle maps. I want a battle royale mode where you got 100 people, you're trying to pop your balloons, but I would also love just the more truncated, I guess now would be 24 characters racing together and, these various maps that are kind of the classic traditional maps. Bring back Block Fort. That was a good one. That's kind of a fan favorite one, I think. They could do some Mario 64 representation, have like a Bob-omb Battlefield. I think that could make a really good map for like a balloon battle racetrack. And hopefully they bring back some of the side modes as well, like the Shine Thief and Coin Runners. Those were a lot of fun. I'm really not too keen on the Piranha Plant one. I forget what it's called, but like the Cops and Robbers sort of thing, where it's kind of like a 6v6 mode where six of them are like they have the Piranha Plant and they're pursuing and they're trying to chomp you. That one's probably not going to come back because it looks like the Piranha Plant item isn't coming back. I guess we've not talked about the items. I'm happy that they're bringing back the Mega Mushroom. I really didn't like the Piranha Plant item, to be honest, so I'm not too disappointed that that one was cut. But Mega Mushroom, I'm happy to see it return. You got in addition to the Fire Flower, now there's a new Ice Flower, so that's cool. There's like a coin box thing. I wonder if there's maybe going to be character specific ones because we saw a Hammer Brother throw hammers. So I would love to see, because that's kind of a thing in Mario Kart Tour where Bowser, he can like throw a giant Bowser shell like how he did in Double Dash, because Mario Kart Double Dash back on the GameCube also had that sort of thing where characters had their own unique items they could use. Baby Mario and Baby Luigi could use a chain chomp. So I would love to see more stuff like that as well. But yeah, is there anything else that I want to touch on in terms of Mario Kart? I guess character-wise, I mentioned some other Nintendo franchises. This would be a third party. We've never really had a third party character in a mainline like console Mario game, um, but we have had them in some of the arcade games. There's this like Mario Kart Arcade GP series. There's like two or three different versions of it. And they have Pac-Man characters as playable characters because those games are developed in collaboration with Namco. And really, I kind of think Mario Kart 8 was as well. So if Bandai Namco was working on the new Mario Kart especially, throw my boy Pac-Man in there. I'd love to have Pac-Man playable in a mainline Mario Kart game. He'd probably be my main. I freaking love that yellow circle. I'd take a bullet for that man. Um, have like a Pac Maze racetrack that could be really cool, almost like a Tron sort of thing, where it's like you've got all these like neon, like blue outlined, walls dividing kind of the maze or whatever. So that could be a lot of fun. But I don't know. I think this game's got a lot of potential. And again, if it really launches with only around 30 tracks, I hope Nintendo has a long term plan, a roadmap. It's not going to be like Animal Crossing New Horizons, which sucked in terms of their plans, where it just felt like that game, even when all was said and done, was still just like missing a lot of content. And when it launched, definitely felt kind of a little unfinished. I want there to be a lot there from the get go, but I want them to continually update it. To just add in a whole bunch of extra stuff. Maybe like every month we get like a new cup or something. I don't know. Maybe that's a little too ambitious, but again, if the game only launches with like 30 tracks or something like that, then like they could already have a bunch of other stockpiled that they're just ready to just, lined up to release over the course of the next several months. I don't know, but I want to see a lot there. I think gameplay wise, it looks really good. I'm not too off put by any of the new mechanics. Um, you've got kind of like the grind rail mechanic, and then you've also got like wall jumping. That's pretty cool. Almost kind of like a new evolution or a new step forward from the anti-gravity racing. So theoretically, I think they could bring back most, if not all, the tracks from Mario Kart 8 that had anti-gravity, because it looks like you can more or less do the same sort of thing here. Just your tires don't, turn sideways and glow, and you can't like bump into each other to get like a speed boost. But that's kind of whatever. That mechanic felt kind of inessential to me. But yeah, Mario Kart, especially with the DLC and the Booster Course Pass, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe had so many great tracks that I was so thrilled to see them brought back in a new modern Mario Kart. And it would be so unfortunate after, just a year or so, a couple years since the DLC ended, that now all those tracks are obsolete again. And we just got to wait and hope and pray that they get into the next one. So again, I really hope that Mario Kart World has a lot of those fan favorite tracks that they already brought back, like Waluigi Pinball, and again we talked about Coconut Mall and Maple Tree Way, Mushroom Gorge. Especially when you consider like a lot of these tracks just kind of looked very generic in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because the base game looked really good. But then in the Booster Course Pass, a lot of them just felt like they were missing a lot of textures. Like they really neutered like Rock Mountain and Koopa Cape, just like very, I don't know, it was just like there was no texture. Like it felt unfinished, some of these, where it's like it's just very clear that they just kind of copied and pasted the assets from the mobile game from Mario Kart Tour and then maybe changed some stuff here and there. Some of them look better than others. There's some really good looking tracks. It's like, yeah, that looks as good as something that would be in the base game, but the majority of them look kind of subpar. So it would be great to just have the definitive version of all these tracks all in one game. But I don't know. It's looking like we might not. And obviously, I may be in the minority of like wanting a bunch of like old stuff brought back and like better than ever. A lot of people prefer just having brand new content, and I am excited about the new tracks that this game is going to have to offer. I feel like we could still get the best of both worlds, though. Get a lot of new content, but a lot of old stuff too. But as it is, I just feel like the offerings are a little bit too slim right now for my liking. So, as I've said a million times, just take a shot every time I've said it. But we'll just have to wait and see. We're just a few days out from the Mario Kart World Direct, and I do intend to record my reaction to that and upload it to YouTube. So I hope that come whatever day that's on, is it the what is it, like the 17th? Is that when the direct is? Whatever day it's on. Hopefully, come then, the presentation will end, and it'll be like, oh, wow, they really addressed all my concerns. Because I would have no hesitations whatsoever paying the $80 price tag for this game if they've been holding out. If there really are several different world maps, there's like 5 world maps, each one with 30 tracks for a collective total of 150, more than any Mario Kart game in history. So that's like, there would be like 5 different maps for like the Fortnite Battle Royale mode. And then just that much more content to explore, in the single player. And just all these different battle maps we've not seen yet, and all these different tracks we've not seen yet brought back, plus new ones, plus the in-between sections. Then yeah, I'll happily pay $80 for this game. But if all they really show us in the Nintendo presentation is like, here's some new characters that you've not seen. Here's like 25 more characters, and they're all just a bunch of random Mario enemies. You can race as a piranha plant and a blooper now. Congratulations. And then here's just all the different little side things on the map. We've added basically this game's equivalent to Koroks. Yeah, ha ha. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Here's your poop. Have fun exploring the map and finding all these little Korok equivalents. And then that's it. That's going to be pretty disappointing. I want to see a lot more tracks. I want to see more than just this one island that we've seen so far. I don't care how densely packed it is in terms of just like all the different secrets you can find and unlockables. It seems to be a relatively small area. It doesn't seem that huge. It feels like you'll be able to traverse it pretty quickly. So I feel like if this one map is it, you're looking at a single player campaign that might last you, maybe 30 hours or 40 to 100%, which is like, well, that's pretty good. But if you compare that to Breath of the Wild, which you can invest hundreds and hundreds of hours into, and again, this is the launch game, which is what Breath of the Wild was to the Switch 1. That's what this is for the Switch 2. That's going to be kind of underwhelming in comparison. And if there's, only 30 tracks to race on with your friends online, that's going to get really old after a while. Maybe there won't even be a battle mode, a battle royale type mode. If not, that would be kind of disappointing. But if there is, and if it's only the one map, that's still going to be kind of disappointing because, again, like Fortnite, it changes out every so often. So Nintendo, they still got a lot to prove. They still have a lot to prove to win me over. I'm not hooked just yet. I've really liked everything I've seen so far for Mario Kart World, but I want to see a lot more. Because if this is really it, that ain't worth $80. So yeah. I do think that is pretty much everything that I wanted to touch on. Thinking if there's anything else. I'm kind of curious if we could end up seeing like a Mario Kart wave of amiibo, because we know that the Switch 2 still supports NFC technology, and they've already announced that Tears of the Kingdom is going to be getting some new amiibo with like Unibo and Sidon and whatever the names of those other two were. Was it like Tulin? Was that his name? I think the boy bird. And then Riju, is that her name? The Gerudo woman. Plus, Street Fighter 6 is getting like 3 amiibos. So yeah. Could we see some Mario Kart amiibos here? I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility. Can you imagine? Maybe that's why we're getting so many characters. We got like 50 plus that they've announced so far, and they could announce a bunch more at the Direct. Since we're probably not getting a new Smash Brothers game anytime soon, and like every Smash Brothers character got their own amiibo. Maybe we're gonna get a Mario Kart line of amiibo where we're gonna get Spike and Pokey and friggin' Birdo and all these random Mario characters in amiibo form. Oh boy, rest in peace my wallet if that's what's gonna end up happening. And if Nintendo ups the price on amiibo and now everyone costs like $25 or $30 or something, then like, oh boy, hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, with all that said, I think I'm going to end the video now because I'm just kind of rambling at this point. Real quick, I guess going on the online thing, I do hope that there are, maybe they could have like weekly challenges or something to incentivize you to keep racing online again and again, because there's really not anything like that in Mario Kart 8 except for just the enjoyment factor, just the love of the racing. You can set up like tournaments and stuff, and that's pretty cool. But I'd like to see rankings, where I can like kind of like rank up to like S rank or whatever. Just and like as I reach, each time I rank up, I unlock some new kind of cart or some kind of new costume or something to show for it. Maybe have like an item shop that rotates its inventory daily, and so I take the coins that I earn from racing online, excuse me, and use that to unlock stuff. I don't know. I hope there's going to be a strong incentive to keep playing beyond just the fun of the game. I hope there's like they could even do like an achievement system, just where I'm working towards something to want to keep me coming back again and again and feel like I'm working towards something over the course of all these hours that I sink in. But yeah. With all that said, I'm really going to end the video this time. So thank you guys so very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. And yeah, catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.